As love is the unknown, we must come to it by discarding the known. The unknown cannot be discovered by a mind that is full of the known. To be full of emotion is obviously not love, because a sentimental person can be cruel when his sentiments are not responded to, when his feelings have no outlet. An emotional person can be stirred to hatred, to war, to butchery. When I accumulate resentment, and then deny that resentment, which you call forgiveness, it is not love. Sympathy, forgiveness, the relationship of possessiveness, jealousy, and fear, all these things are not love. They are all of the mind. Since you are possessive, since you seek an end, a result, through devotion, through prayer, which makes you sentimental, emotional, naturally there is no love, no respect. If you really felt respect, you would be respectful to the lowest as well as to the so-called highest. You really love only when you do not possess, when you are not envious, not greedy, when you are respectful, when you have mercy and compassion. Love cannot be thought about, love cannot be cultivated, love cannot be practiced. The practice of love, the practice of brotherhood, is still within the field of the mind, therefore it is not love. When all this has stopped, then love comes into being. When you love, there is neither one nor many, there is only love. It is only when there is love that all our problems can be solved, and then we shall know its bliss and its happiness. Living is a process of continuity in memory, conscious as well as unconscious, with its various struggles, quarrels, incidents, experiences, and so on. All that is what we call life. In opposition to that is death, which is putting an end to all that. Having created the opposite, which is death, and being afraid of it, we proceed to look for the relationship between life and death. If we can bridge the gap with some explanation, with belief in continuity, in the hereafter, we are satisfied. We try to bridge the unknown and the unknown, and thereby try to find the relationship between the past and the future. One only knows oneself as a thinker, as an actor, with certain memories of misery, of pleasure, of love, affection, of various kinds of experience. One only knows oneself as being continuous. Otherwise, one would have no recollection of oneself as being something. Now, when that something comes to an end, which we call death, there is fear of the unknown. We do not want to know life, which includes death, but we want to know how to continue and not to come to an end. That which continues has no renewal. There can be nothing new, nothing creative, in that which has continuance. It is this ending that we dread, and we don't see that only in ending can there be renewal, the creative, the unknown, not in carrying over from day to day our experiences, our memories, and misfortunes. It is only when we die each day to all that is old that there can be the new. The man who seeks to find a relationship between life and death, to bridge the continuous with that which he thinks is beyond, is living in a fictitious, unreal world, which is a projection of himself. By giving a name to something, we have merely put it into a category, and we think we have understood it. We don't look at it more closely. If we do not give it a name, however, we are forced to look at it. If you do not give a label to people, you are forced to look at them, and then it is much more difficult to kill somebody. Then you are forced to consider your relationship with it, and with the action following. So, terming or giving a label is a very convenient way of disposing of anything, of denting, condemning, or justifying it. The centre, the core, is the memory of innumerable experiences of pleasure or pain verbalized. Watch it in yourself, please, and you will see that words have become much more important. Labels have become much more important than the substance, and we live on words. We are identified with the label, the house, the form, the name, the furniture, the bank account, our opinions, our stimulants, and so on, and so on. We are all those things being represented by a name. The things have become important, the names, the labels, and therefore the centre, the core, is the word. If there is no word, no label, there is no centre, because you have understood why you give labels to feelings and ideas. You are completely new. But what happens when you do not name? You look at an emotion, at a sensation more directly, and therefore you have quite a different relationship to it, just as you have to a flower when you do not name it. You are forced to look at it anew. When you do not name a group of people, you are compelled to look at each individual face and not treat them all as a mass. Therefore you are much more alert, much more observing, more understanding. You have a deeper sense of pity, love, but if you treat them all as a mass, it is over. The word anger has more significance than the feeling itself. Really, to find out, there must be a gap between the feeling and the naming. That is one part. When the mind is not thinking in terms of words, symbols, images, there is no thinker separate from the thought, which is the word. Then the mind is quiet. When the mind is really quiet, then the feelings which arise can be dealt with immediately. It is only when we give names to the feelings and thereby strengthen them that the feelings have continuity. They are stored up in the centre. When the mind is no longer the centre, as the thinker made up of words of past experiences, which are all memories, labels, stored up and put in categories, the mind is quiet. To follow through all its implications, to experience it, to see how the mind works, and thereby come to that point when you are no longer naming, which means that there is no longer a centre apart from thought. Surely this whole process is real meditation. To come to this point, there can be no judgment or justification from the beginning to the end. Not that this is an end. There is no end, because there is something extraordinary still going on. It is extraordinarily interesting to watch the process of the mind, how it depends on words, how the words stimulate memory, or resuscitate the dead experience and give life to it. In that process the mind is living either in the future or in the past. Therefore words have enormous significance, neurologically as well as psychologically. Watching the whole process frees the mind from its centre. Then, the mind being quiet, can receive that which is eternal. Our difficulty is for the mind not to proceed in the known. That can only happen when the mind understands itself, and how all its movement is from the past, projecting itself through the present to the future. It needs constant watchfulness, constant awareness of every movement of thought, not only when you are waking, but also when you are asleep. It must be a total process, not a sporadic, partial process. When the mind is silent, when it is no longer projecting itself into the future, wishing for something, when the mind is really quiet, profoundly peaceful, the unknown comes into being. You don't have to search for it. You cannot invite it. That which you can invite is only that which you know. Our problem is not how to seek the unknowable, but to understand the accumulative process of the mind, which is ever the known. That is an arduous task. That demands constant attention, a constant awareness in which there is no sense of distraction, of identification, of condemnation. It is being with what is. Then only can the mind be still. Life is it not, a series of challenges and responses, and if your response to a challenge is conditioned, limited, complete, then that challenge leaves its mark, its residue, which is further strengthened by another challenge. So there is constant residual memory, accumulation, scars, and with all these scars you try to meet the new, and therefore you never meet the new. Therefore you never understand. There is never a liberation from any challenge. If I want to understand you, you are modified, changed. I must be free of the picture of yesterday. To understand a challenge which is always new, I must also meet it anew. There must be no residue of yesterday. As each challenge arises, be aware of all the responses of yesterday, and, by being aware of yesterday's residue, memories, you will find that they drop away without struggle, and therefore your mind is fresh. Take any challenge, any small incident. Don't wait for some great crisis, and see how you respond to it. Be aware of it, of your responses, of your intentions, of your attitudes, and you will understand them. You will understand your background. I assure you, you can do it immediately if you give your whole attention to it. To understand what is, you have to be undisturbed, undistracted. You have to give your mind and your heart to it. It must be your sole interest at that moment, completely. Then, what is, gives you its full depth, its full meaning, and thereby you are free of that problem. Only when you are directly in relationship with the problem will you find the answer. To perceive truth needs no preparation. Preparation implies time, and time is not the means of understanding truth. Time is continuity, and truth is timeless, non-continuous. Understanding is non-continuous. It is from moment to moment, unresidual. It is easy, simple to understand, if you will only experiment with it. What will make me open to you is my intention to understand. I want to be open because I have nothing to hide. I am not afraid. Therefore I am open, and there is immediate communion. There is truth. To receive truth, to know its beauty, to know its joy, there must be instant receptivity, unclouded by theories, fears, and answers. We say that the mind should be occupied with noble things, with unselfishness, with generosity, with kindliness, with love. That is the pattern, the belief, the should be, the must, and we try to live accordingly. So there is a conflict set going between the projection of what should be and the actuality, the what is. And through the conflict we hope to be transformed. So long as we are struggling with what should be, we feel virtuous, we feel good. The mind lives in a world of trivialities, and a trivial mind creates a noble pattern. Creating a noble pattern is still trivial. If we are at all aware, if we are at all inquiring, we know our own particular trivialities, incessant talk, the everlasting chattering of the mind, worry over this and that, curiosity as to what people are doing or not doing, trying to achieve a result, groping after one's aggrandizement, and so on. The mind, being the result of memory, of time, is trivial in itself. Whatever it does, it's still trivial. It can speculate about God, it can devise political systems, it can invent beliefs, but it is still within the field of time. Its change is still from memory to memory. It is still bound by its own limitation. When the mind, having seen its trivialities, is fully aware of them, and so becomes really quiet, only then is there a possibility of these trivialities dropping away. In the awareness of the trivialities which it has consciously and unconsciously built, the mind becomes quiet. In that quietness there is a creative state, and this is the factor which brings about transformation. That timeless state can come only when there is tremendous discontent, not the discontent that has found a channel through which it escapes, but the discontent that has no outlet, that has no escape, that is no longer seeking fulfillment. Without love, revolution has no meaning, for then revolution is merely destruction, decay, a greater and greater ever-mounting misery. When there is love, there is revolution, because love is transformation from moment to moment.